Destruction is a necessary force. It is not mindless rage, not reckless violence. It is the calculated removal of all that weakens, all that poisons, all that keeps you bound in mediocrity. A man who refuses to destroy what destroys him is a man who willingly walks toward his own ruin. He carries his burdens, his fears, his self-doubt as if they are part of him, as if they deserve to remain. But nothing that seeks to weaken you should be allowed to exist within you. Weakness does not ask for permission. It grows in the shadows, feeds on hesitation, festers in the spaces where discipline falters. And if it is not confronted, if it is not burned away with deliberate force, it will consume you entirely. True strength is not just about building, it is about removing, about cutting away every piece of yourself that does not serve your purpose. You do not rise by holding on to what makes you weak. You rise by eliminating it, by erasing it, by leaving nothing but the core of what you must become. A man who understands destruction understands himself. He knows that destruction is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the fire that clears the rot, the force that makes space for something greater. Weak men fear destruction because they are attached to the very things that hold them back. They justify their flaws, make peace with their fears, allow their vices to remain. They tell themselves that destruction is unnecessary, that they can move forward while still carrying the weight of their past, their failures, their insecurities. But no man climbs with chains around his ankles. No man ascends while holding on to the very things that drag him down. The warrior, the one who masters himself, is willing to destroy anything that threatens his rise, no matter how familiar, no matter how comfortable, no matter how deeply embedded it has become. Comfort is the enemy. Familiarity is the enemy. Anything that keeps you from evolving must be met with absolute force. To destroy what destroys you is to reclaim control. Weakness thrives where there is hesitation. The moment you delay, the moment you entertain the thought of letting your vices remain, they tighten their grip. They whisper to you that they are harmless, that they are part of who you are, that you can manage them. But there is no managing weakness. It either exists within you or it does not. The man who tries to compromise, to control his lesser self while still allowing it to remain, will find himself consumed in the end. There can be no mercy for the things that seek to undo you. Whether it is doubt, fear, addiction, self-pity, whatever form your greatest enemy takes, you must recognize that it is a war. And in war, hesitation is death. You must remove these weaknesses from your life with the same intensity that you would destroy an external enemy. You must be ruthless, relentless, unwavering, because weakness does not rest, does not surrender, it waits. It waits for you to slip, for you to falter, for you to believe you have conquered it when it is only lying dormant. The greatest deception is believing that your destruction comes from external forces alone, that it is the world, other people, bad luck, circumstance, fate, that these are the things that hold you down. But the truth is always the same. You are your own greatest enemy. It is your mind that makes you hesitate, your mind that justifies inaction, your mind that tells you to wait, to delay, to compromise. It is your own nature that allows weakness to remain. And if you do not confront it, if you do not take absolute control of yourself, you will be at its mercy forever. A man who does not master himself will always be a slave to his impulses, to his fears, to his lesser nature. The strong understand this. They know that before they can conquer anything in this world, they must first conquer themselves. And that conquest is not a gentle one. It is a violent reckoning, a war fought every day against the self that seeks comfort, the self that seeks excuses, the self that must be destroyed. Destruction must be precise. There are men who lash out blindly, who think rage alone will free them. They burn everything indiscriminately, destroying even what is good, what is useful, what is necessary. This is not mastery, this is chaos. True destruction is not reckless, it is strategic. You must know exactly what must be removed, what must be crushed, what must be left behind. It is not about destroying everything, it is about destroying the right things. The weak strike out at everything around them, blaming the world, blaming others, mistaking destruction for progress. But the warrior directs his destruction inward first. He hunts his flaws, his weaknesses, his excuses, and he eradicates them with absolute precision. He does not allow himself the luxury of sentimentality. He does not grieve the parts of himself that must die. He welcomes their end, knowing that what remains will be stronger, purer, more unbreakable. To destroy what destroys you is to embrace suffering. Weakness does not leave without a fight. It clings to you, screams for survival, pleads to remain. It will hurt to cut it away. It will feel like tearing out a part of yourself, like losing something vital. This is the test. Can you endure the pain of transformation, or will you surrender to the comfort of familiarity? Those who fear suffering will never be free. They will cling to what destroys them, because destruction, no matter how painful, is still familiar. And the weak would rather suffer in comfort than struggle for greatness. But the strong know that pain is necessary. They accept it, embrace it, use it. They understand that the destruction of weakness is the birth of strength. There are no half measures in this war. You cannot destroy part of your weakness and expect to be free. You cannot remove one chain and expect to move forward. It must all go. Every doubt, every fear, every attachment to comfort, every excuse, every indulgence in weakness, it must all be eradicated with absolute finality. There is no room for compromise. The man who allows even a fragment of weakness to remain will see it grow again, see it take root, see it return stronger than before. It must be burned completely down to the very foundation. Only then is there room for something greater. And what remains after destruction? Strength, clarity, purpose. A man who has burned away all that weakens him is a man who stands unshaken. He is not held back by doubt, not slowed by fear, not controlled by anything outside of his own will. He moves through the world with absolute confidence, knowing that he is not his past, not his failures, not his fears. He has destroyed all that sought to destroy him, and now there is nothing left to stop him. The choice is yours. You can allow weakness to remain. Let it whisper in your ear. Let it guide your steps toward slow decay. Or you can face it, acknowledge it, and destroy it with relentless force. Only one path leads to mastery. Only one path leads to true strength. Destroy what destroys you, or be destroyed by it. A man is either free or he is chained. There is no in-between. The chains may be visible, shackles of servitude, obligations imposed by others, a life dictated by forces beyond his control. Or they may be invisible, fears that hold him back, doubts that keep him small, comforts that suffocate his potential. But the weight is always there, pressing down, pulling him under. Some men live their entire lives without ever questioning these chains. They accept them, adapt to them, learn to live within their constraints. They tell themselves that this is simply how life is, that true freedom is an illusion, that their burdens are unavoidable. And so they carry their chains, unaware that each step they take only sinks them deeper into the ground. They are being buried slowly, not by the world, not by fate, but by their own refusal to break free. And in the end, when their time comes, they do not stand tall. They are swallowed by the very weight they refuse to cast off. To destroy what destroys you is to break those chains before they drag you into the grave. Weakness, fear, doubt, these are not minor inconveniences. They are the links in the chain that will bind you for life if you do not act. And they will not loosen on their own. No man wakes up one day suddenly free of fear. No man simply outgrows his weakness. Chains do not break by accident. They must be shattered with deliberate force. Every moment of hesitation, every excuse made, every time a man tells himself that he can live with his burdens a little longer, he is tightening the grip of the very thing that will one day destroy him. Because chains do not remain stagnant. They grow heavier. They become part of the flesh, part of the mind, until a man can no longer tell the difference between himself and his captivity. The choice then is simple: break the chains or be buried in them. There are those who fear destruction, who see it as reckless, as dangerous. And they are right. It is dangerous. To their weakness, to their limitations, to the version of themselves that would rather stay in the dark than rise into the light. Because to destroy what destroys you is to remove every excuse, every crutch, every illusion of safety. It is to acknowledge that you are the architect of your own imprisonment, and that no one is coming to free you. If you wait for the world to release you from your burdens, you will wait until the weight crushes your bones. There is no mercy in stagnation. There is no salvation in complacency. And so the only path forward is destruction, to burn away what holds you back, to shatter the cage you have spent years fortifying, to embrace the discomfort, the pain, the fire of transformation. Those who are unwilling to face this destruction will instead face a slow, suffocating death beneath the weight of their own inaction. Freedom is not given. It is not inherited. It is seized. And it is seized through force, through unrelenting will, through the absolute refusal to remain bound by anything that does not serve your highest purpose. But this is where most men falter, because breaking the chains requires a price, and that price is everything weak within you. The attachments that bring comfort, the distractions that make life bearable, the false sense of security that keeps you from facing reality. All of it must go. And this is where fear takes hold, because the chains, no matter how heavy, are familiar. A man who has lived with them for long enough begins to mistake them for protection. He tells himself that without them he will be lost, exposed, vulnerable. And so he chooses to remain shackled, convincing himself that he has made the safer choice, when in truth he has chosen to be buried alive. Breaking the chains demands pain. It demands struggle. It demands sacrifice. And weak men are not willing to pay that price. They would rather suffer in the quiet agony of their limitations than face the brutal, cleansing fire of destruction. They would rather endure a slow decay than risk the unknown. But the warrior, the one who truly understands the necessity of destruction, does not fear the fire. He walks into it willingly, knowing that what emerges will be stronger, sharper, more unbreakable than before. He does not cling to the past, does not hold on to what no longer serves him. He sees his chains for what they are, dead weight, nothing more. And he is willing to cut them away, no matter the cost. The process of breaking free is not a one-time event. It is a war fought every day, a battle waged in the mind, in the soul, in the body. Because the world will always try to forge new chains. Society, expectations, self-doubt, distractions. They will always be there, waiting, testing, pressing against the mind like a vice. And those who grow complacent, who believe that they have broken free for good, will soon find themselves bound again, caught in a new prison of their own making. The strong do not merely break free once, they remain free. They remain vigilant. They remain ruthless in the destruction of anything that threatens their sovereignty. Because freedom, once earned, must be defended with the same ferocity with which it was claimed. But the truth is this: not all men will break their chains. Most will die with them. Most will carry them to their graves, still telling themselves that one day they will be free. One day they will take action. One day they will rise. But one day never comes, because action delayed is action denied. And every moment spent waiting, every moment spent justifying inaction, is a moment spent digging your own grave. The chains will tighten. The weight will grow. And in the end, those who failed to act will not be remembered as warriors, as men who stood against their own destruction. They will be forgotten, buried beneath the weight of the lives they were too weak to claim. The choice is not complicated. Either you rise or you fall. Either you destroy what seeks to destroy you, or you are consumed by it. Either you break the chains or you are buried in them. There is no middle ground. There is no waiting. The chains will not loosen on their own. They will not disappear with time. They must be broken, violently, completely, without hesitation. The strong understand this. The weak deny it. And that is why only the strong will ever truly be free.